Homework is fine. You can do homework, but no games, no video.
No hiding.
That's right, no hiding.
So like simple.
I'll let you know. We have one. You.
Nice shit.
Thanks. Thank you. We are live, by the way. Just a heads up. I like your shirt too. It's very highlighter. It's very.
Yeah, I'm going out for a run on a rainy day after this. So.
That's what I was gonna say. It's very Roadrunner.
Yeah. How's things been, man?
Good. Busy, as you can imagine, but good. We've got quite a few things coming up very soon, which is going to be fun.
Yeah, good weekend for the McLaren boys.
Oh, it was a great weekend. Yeah, it was awesome, actually.
Yeah.
1-2 finish.
Yep, can't ask for better than that.
Nope. Not at all.
So yeah, Austin will be joining in a few minutes. He just had to take his dog out real quick.
Okay.
But we can get started, in the next couple here. I'm sure you're just waiting for a few people to join in. And
Yeah, I'm gonna put you beside me.
nice.
Now, how can I hide myself? Can I do that?
You can do the opposite, but
Yeah,
I
I
don't
can
know if
do-
you can hide.
I could do that. And then I could do main only. I could do this.
What are you using?
Meld.
Yeah, I've never used it, so.
It's like, it's pretty good actually. It's definitely the best that I've seen so far. It's just, it's built on top of OBS, I think.
Okay.
Which is cool. Okay, that's close enough.
I know, it's always so tough with throwaway stuff. It's like, well, give it another 10 seconds, see if it does what I want it to.
Yeah,
So it's not really throwaway because it's being recorded, but
I know what you mean.
yeah. I think we're going to be staring down the barrel of Meridians looking real good. I think that's, I don't know. It's, for me, the way I'm going to treat this today is usually when I go to the second presentation, because the first one encompasses a lot, right? It encompasses like fonts, layout, like some graphics, like colors. We're doing, experimental logo sketches, all this stuff, right? Now this one's just pared back to just experimentation in logos, because I realized that the last one might have been, a little bit overwhelming, but we gotta start jumping on everything to get going. So,
yep.
But yeah, I mean, in the board itself, we're already recording.
Yeah, I'm just following you, by the way.
Oh, good. New font you selected is dope. I really like the way that the A's play, and like a lot of the shapes within the negative spaces play.
Yeah. Which one?
XAT.
Oh yeah.
Type.
Yep, that one was pretty good.
Yeah. I don't know if they have a variant. At least it wasn't in the trial package, but they might have a variant that has a dot above the I's. I guess they call them tittles, right? That's the
Yep.
I's and the J's, lowercase. But
I really like the A logo. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, let me jump to my screen.
It's got a little bit of character. I also bet that I could probably turn that off. I actually haven't looked, but I haven't gotten around to testing the other fonts in C2 yet, like in the app.
Yeah.
I do want to do that. I haven't even looked at XAD in the app. It's just like I came across something, I found it interesting, could work for native, send it along to you guys.
I mean, obviously, you saw the breadth that Aonic has, and like how dope that Phono font is. I haven't seen many fonts like that, and I don't know. There's something about it that's just like so attractive to me.
Yep.
If not for smaller UI elements and sort of like heads-up display, hover state sort of stuff,
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I guess to get started and actually run through, we took in all the feedback from obviously the meeting, and then your second video, which came out I think 1 week ago, which was great. And then it was awesome to see within the operating system Slack, a lot of like this stuff getting applied immediately. That's actually never happened before for us that quickly. So it's a fucking pleasure working together with you on this.
Good.
It's so cool to see. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously seeing it in like these contexts where like, you've got this drop down and it's just so small.
Yep.
It becomes really clear, like, okay, this is the context that we're working in, and this is what we have to design for. So, just a list of, your thoughts, and then I think I recapped some of my thoughts up here. So dot world with less dots, dot world meridian combos, more simplified meridians that go duotone, and meridians that act more like signposts. I think I probably nailed like 4 out of 5 of these.
Okay.
But there's still a little more exploration to be done. For anybody who didn't catch last week's episode, there's a lot to catch up on in terms of, what we did in tone and direction. There's a lot of colors. There was some initial logo explorations. There were some font explorations. Just, give it a look if you haven't yet, because it's going to really define where we're at this week. Last week was a big one. There was a lot of touch points throughout the brand that we're building for native, and that's carrying on into this week. And we're really just specifically focused on, logo marks at this point. So yeah, I dove in and started doing a bunch of exploration in Illustrator, because that's my weapon of choice for doing vectors.
Sure.
A lot of these are combinations of stuff we talked about, and I'm going to kind of, leave some of these till later, because you might want to look back up and see like, oh, where's this one coming from? But a lot of these are just combinations between a lot of things that we talked about last week. So if I jump right down to the sketches area, these are just in rows, the same way we did them last week. So this was the chosen one last week, .world. I'm gonna run through these in like 10 minutes, and then I'll let you just walk the board yourself and call out stuff on your own.
Okay.
I feel like that's like the easiest way to go about it at this point. So, I mean, this one here is just overlapping dots, right? And then doing sort of an infinity effect with the dots. I realized after I constructed this one and like vectorized it, I was like, we probably need a bigger stroke weight if we're gonna do it this way. But if we picture this vibrating gradient from blue to red, possibly, with the colorways looping through. Same thing here. I like to work just in black and white until we really settle in on something, or at least get closer, so that we're not having colors, muck up any of the decisions. But if we feel like we need to see something like this in colors, I'm happy to do it.
Yep.
So I think this is like one of the weaker ones, but it could be strong with color applied. I think that's totally a thing.
Yep.
More dot worlds, just less dots. And I think that these get away from the pareidolia sort of thing. And I think that like the perspective part of it has a lot to do with it. I know that we said that we wanted to get away from hand-drawn, but there's something about hand-drawn with something that looks like it is on a polar array that just feels right to me. And, you can have your own feedback on it, but there's something about that I just couldn't get away from when pulling into like exploring more of a larger grit dot world, if I'm going to put it that way.
Sure, yeah, I get what you mean.
So I don't know, there's something about it it's like it's in perspective. It's like these things are floating in space. They might be like their own little orbs, but there's also sort of like this telephone receiver thing that feels sort of fun and interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there was pushback on that last week for being more telecom, but if we lean into it, it could be fun. I don't know, it's kind of like top of head thoughts on this. Pushing over to these is just a couple different other ways that I was thinking about imagining it. Like in my head, I was like, this is sort of like, Stonehenge, like you've got a bunch of dots circling around, they're in perspective, we're getting this infinity symbol, sort of DNA, sort of like prehistoric but new mark making. I don't know, there's something that like had me going on this one. And yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that so I can fly through these. Pick this one to move along with, just to do lockups, both in dark mode and light mode. And then we're doing duotone throughout all these and just hinting at possible colors, just so that like we keep those in mind as we're going through this process. So I'll step down to the next one. Or maybe, do you want to give feedback on this row and then we'll kick it over to the next one? Yeah,
whichever's easiest to you. I can kind of go through it row by row if you want to do that. Or would you rather wait till the end and then
Yeah, I guess I'll plow through it. Sorry.
Okay. And by the way, if anybody's, I know we've got a couple viewers already. If people have thoughts or comments, I am looking at the chat. Obviously, as a reminder, this is a benevolent monarchy, but, feel free to throw your feedback, comments, thoughts in the chat, something stand out to you, something not like, you don't like, etc. But anyway. Cool. So I'll just save all my feedback for the end, and you can kind of plow through for now.
Yep, sounds good. So yeah, we were at Signpost last week. I think the feedback was, we really liked the possibility for duotoning. It didn't really feel like this was all the way there yet. And I mean that in the sense of like the shapes didn't really feel like they were speaking to native quite yet, but the idea was generally there, and I think the duotone did a lot for that idea as well. You get this sort of like N house symbol reflected. There's something nice about it. There's also like a dragonfly doji in the center of it, which is, mildly interesting. I don't know, all these things just kind of fly through my head when I'm making this stuff. And as I'm seeing it come out the fog. So yeah, there's a couple different iterations on this, basically just rounding it to see how that feels. And I think this does feel a lot nicer. I can play with, the way that we're stretching it, because right now it's basically a rectangle. It's not a circle. It's flat on the top and bottom. We can play with proportion there, and we can play with the proportion of the negative space in the center. We can play with the negative space in the center of the two sides as well. But I think this is just seeing it like this it really made me feel a certain type of way, and then kind of continuing on and seeing how it plays with, a couple of discs or like rotating arcs, and how that might feel. And then the same thing goes for sort of uniting those two concepts in this last one, where it's like sort of these two arches. It's like a bounding system. It's like an open area. yeah, I don't know. There's a lot in this one, and like the ability for this one to go duotone too, I think is like, it holds a lot of weight for me. Whether that's red blue in certain applications, whether that's just opacity on the left or right side. I could see this one even being flipped horizontally. But just trying to stick with the format as we get to these that do flip. So just rolling with my train of thought, same thing, sort of like two sides. I realized after me and Austin had a feedback session that the one on the left looks a little bit similar to Moonwell's logo. It's just funny when you start doing simple shapes and simple things that, obviously these things are going to happen. Yeah. So same thing here, just flipping it and seeing how it plays. I sort of like the terrarium aspect of this one, like a plane, and it's like sort of encased. I don't know. There's something there, even though it's very simple. There's just something about it that feels really nice, and you could go duotone with this one too, top and bottom, and then this one here, just playing around with a lot of the ideas in Illustrator. This one really popped out as like this sort of stretching, like vortex torus, which I feel like could be a really neat thing. Two sides uniting and stretching and pulling, and I guess talking. Like, I don't know. There's a whole lot of that in this one for me, and there's a whole lot that we could play with this form. We could split it apart. We could play with the way that it stretches. We could make it longer. We could make it shorter. We could add more discs in the center and have multiple stretching points. But it starts to get away from signposts. But I don't know. I felt like this was a fun direction to chase as I was seeing it come through the fog at me. Same thing here in terms of like, two shapes coming together, because a lot of these, again, are based off of feedback from like Meridian, two things, sort of uniting or talking to each other, or, all those themes are playing out here. Sort of, an allude to the end, but not really. Somehow chopping it in the middle feels really nice in a way. I could go in and like round out all of the hard edges too, but then it turns into something completely different. And then outlines as well, like those outlines could be duotone, those could be, some sort of a hash, they could be a pattern, but like just starting to play with like, what if we did flip it this way and it was like, two discs or two worlds, as I'm picturing it, I guess talking to each other, or this is like kind of a wild session, because it's like this is the first time that I really get into a lot of the themes in deeper ways that we start to get a curve from the last session, which is like releasing themes and ideas, and in this one go a bit wilder, try to stretch those themes and ideas, and then by the third one you get a real curve on where we're at in the branding process. At least that's how I handle it. So
sure.
So I picked this one to move along with. And we have Aeonic first, Newhouse second, and Exat third. And then in light mode as well. And then in duotone, which I think looks phenomenal. Really stoked on this. There's obviously like a bunch of different ways that I could break this down by like, golden ratio, right? Like a lot of these things that I can go in and like lay over it and make it make sense. But right now it's just a lot of feel and working on a grid and playing with radiuses, and it's kind of how it goes for me at first to get started. So that's Signpost Row 2, and then this one is pretty fun. I think this one looked the best in practice with all the logos that you had added to the app, but it was a little bit complex at smaller scales. I'm going to go with the wild one first, which is like two discs sort of like wrapping around each other. Almost like you'd see like, two air bubbles in water kind of twisting around each other or interacting. And I think that this one, specifically the middle one and possibly the one on the left, like if you're interacting with the bot, if this doesn't get used as like a logo mark, I think that like this idea of like two things overlapping, human and AI or bot or agent, right, talking, and maybe them being two different colors at two different frequencies, could be something really, really interesting and neat to play with. And I just think that this idea of like these two discs are overlapping and then intertwined in a way, almost like DNA, is like pretty strong as a concept. I think that like getting the math right on, because I just work in Illustrator mainly, but getting the math right on like those curves took me a little bit to make work. So I think I could play with it in a number of different ways, given a different system, and figuring out how to pare that down. But like having 5 loops roughly on each side just felt right. We could do 3, they could be at different altitudes or different wavelengths. So yeah, it probably requires a generative system, which maybe Austin can help me with to play with like how this might look and see how that feels. And then yeah, on the right hand side, I don't know if it completely works out, but the idea that maybe these two merge in some way. And again, like, just isn't just logos, but thinking about like these themes that can run throughout the entire app in some shape or form, or some placement, right? Like if this doesn't make it all the way through, maybe some of the other logos too, maybe they find their place, somewhere else other than being the, the Spotlight logo, the core logo for native. So now we get into what I think is a really good rendition of Meridian, coming down and getting pared down to like just what's needed. And I think this last one does a really good job of that. The middle one's more so just to like describe that, we have an end shape in there, and there's also an end shape in the middle. But once you remove quite a few of the lines, it starts to get really clean and crisp, and it just feels right at scale. I don't know if the stroke weight, is perfect for this yet. We'll see how it handles on smaller sizes in the app. I did test it a little bit, but I definitely need to spend some time with this, and I think everyone will, to see if that, not only the mark itself and, running a line through the center of it, what's it look like without a line through the center. I did do that. I didn't feel like it was, unified enough. It didn't have the idea of two worlds coming together enough, but I think it needs that line running through the center. But yeah, stroke weight's definitely a thing to play with here. All in all, I think coming from here, which was, maybe an application for, a larger object or billboard, poster, or t-shirt, right, where you've got a lot more lines and detail. I think this is, basically the same thing, but just stripped back as much as we could to get the same idea across. And then same thing goes here, but we're just doing negative. And I start to really like this one, and you'll see why in a minute. And I did remove, the same part as well. But there's just like this flowing of two worlds that happens here that we saw on the last one. It's just very much more apparent, I'd say. And, obviously it's like I can tweak and change this logo, but I think that like the level of, I guess, detail and fidelity, or, simplification of this, I think is getting to a spot that feels a lot better than where we were last week. And then this one's just removing the outer curves, which, I wouldn't do in this one, but, it feels a little bit tight, but there could be something there if, stretching out into a full half circle on either side, there could be something there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. As a mark itself, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And then doing that with lockups as well. And I think, yeah, when you see it, light mode, it really starts to hit. And then I'll start with this one for duotone, because it starts to really just, do its thing. Not even an even dual tone with those two lines curving against each other. Yeah, I don't know. There's something that feels really right. I can do some tweaking on, obviously, going through another round of these, playing with like, the shapes and forms, the length, the space at which these two spheres are linked in the first place, but it starts to feel really good. And then, yeah, I guess as like a final comparison slide, got them all next to each other, and then we've got them all at a smaller scale just to see how they play. So that's it for me, man. I'll let you walk the board yourself.
Very cool. Yeah, I think I'll just do the same and talk out loud. I do want to live and sit with these as well, just like last time. because I did notice, especially after like seeing it in a variety of different contexts, I noticed where my opinions of them changed over time. But for now, I'll just like give off top immediate reactions.
Just like last time, it was great because like hearing your thoughts change in that recap video after the weekend was like, yes, this is why we do like the after.
It is, yeah. So this I actually like a lot. I like how simple the left is. And I could definitely see where this gets interesting with color and motion. Mm-hmm. Like even a loading indicator, right? Like the circles changing color around or whatever. I also, something we haven't talked about, I like it when identities and brands and logo marks specifically can like adapt contextually. So like Google does a really good job of this with the drawing of the day or whatever on google.com. I could see this structure being really useful for stuff like that. Like imagine reds and greens for Christmas, or blacks and oranges for Halloween or something like that. Like error states, success states all get easier here. I'm not in love with the monochromatic infinity version. It reminds me of like almost like a cloud or like marshmallows on the right. The problem I have with this mark is it almost reminds me of flowers. And I think that comes from, like, my brain looks at this and goes immediately to ICQ. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I have to, like, adjust for that.
If you saw it in lime green, yellow, like ICQ,
100%. It would be ICQ. I think there could be something here, though. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's stroke width. Maybe it's, playing with negative space. Maybe it's something else. But first blush, I like this. I can't get there here with the dot world stuff. I think this is we probably lose a little bit from the original concept here. The perspective and the final mark here makes me think BlackBerry. I don't like the irregular shapes. I don't know. I think it's just the direction doesn't work for me.
It's a funny one, right? Because I'm curious, like, when you heard feedback from the community, what did anybody go into detail what they liked about the initial one? Because that seemed like it was the most resounding feedback.
It was from, it's funny because from the native community, it was like far and away the leader. From people two groups of people, either whose opinion I really trust, like from a product and design perspective, we worked together for years, etc. They didn't like Dot World, and my family didn't like. I run it through the normie filter of my family. They didn't like the Dot World as much, and so like it's almost like one of those like bell curve memes or whatever. It's like two opposite ends didn't like it. The mid curve loved it. Not saying that the native community is mid curve, but it was funny to see like the spectrum of folks there.
And I don't think you really liked this one from the start, and that's fine. That's fine. I think it was fun to play with. And I mean, do you even have any suggestions of where you would take this one?
Not this one in particular. No. I would take it to the trash. I think.
Nice.
The first and third get more interesting for me. I like this direction. The hand-drawn kind of irregular shapes don't rub me the wrong way as much in this context as they do here.
Could you see this one being generative too?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one, and specifically like this one and this one, I both see like with color and motion could be really cool. Like really, really dope. You know, I like the perspective / angle on these. I like this one, the last one, from a aesthetic, symmetrical point of view. They kind of pass the kid test as well, as does the first one. I mean, all three of these really do pass the kid test, but you know, the first and the third definitely do. My concern with this one, especially on the far right, is that it would read like the letter O. And so absent, like the logo mark, absent a word mark, it may be like, oh, what is that? Like ocean or something? Like, you know what I mean? But maybe not. You know, that's just nitpicking. But yeah, I could see these looking really good in lockup. And I know that you like the Pebbles version, for lack of a better word, but that's probably my least favorite of the three iterations here. Although I do think it looks better in lockup than...
Yeah, I mean, it did it for the community, yeah.
No, 100%, right?
Yeah, and the community can trash me on like the version of Dot World that I brought through. It's fine, like it's all good.
they won't. I won't let them. But I do want, you know, I don't like it. I do want to see it in contexts, right? So like, this is one of those things that I'm going to like make an image of it and upload it into the app icon library, and we'll see what it looks like. You know what I mean? Because on a slide in Figma is very different than on my home screen. It's very different than in a token selector. It's very different than, you know, in a lockup. So I do want to look at these in this contexts. I don't like this weight of XSET as the title weight. I think it needs to be a little bit bolder, and I don't know if that exists, and it might not, and that would give us a lot of information but on that font.
I think honestly, all right, so I downloaded a trial, and I'm not sure that they had like the blacks and whatnot in it, so I'd have to actually go up and pony up and pay for it, or I could probably just screenshot it. But yeah, I was trying to do it the right way.
Yeah, don't pay for it yet. We're not. I mean, we're far from zeroing in on it. But out of these lockups, I like the Aonic the best. Just FYI. The thing that really bothers me here, and in some of the other fonts, it's not in this lockup, but I don't like the angular T cutoff. Some fonts do. I like it more square like this. Yeah,
that's true. I wonder if that changes in a bold or black, because sometimes it does.
Yeah, it might.
Yeah.
Okay. Signpost.
Yes, sir.
I love this direction.
Which one? Oh, this one.
This one.
Sweet.
It's probably one of my top 3 out of everything I've seen today. A couple of things, just random thoughts. It evokes Halo for me. Like, literally the world of Halo, which is not a bad thing at all.
Okay.
Like this kind of ring world type item. I like the play between the black and white. Like, it there's some curvature there that comes up.
It also speaks to orthographic too. These two on the right.
Yep.
They're more orthographic in nature. So.
Yep. Like it looks like it has like a flange on it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a yo-yo almost. Which is cool. I like all three of these. It would be hard for me to rank them.
So I got some feedback from actually my wife saying that the left one looked a little bit too much like Oculus, but
yeah, I could see that.
The weights are different. There's a line down the center. I mean, it's when you start getting into stuff that's really simple, things start to look like everything.
Yeah, 100%. And I totally agree with you. It's also interesting that on its side, it looks like two letters in the middle one. It's borderline evocative of McDonald's. That the double arch shape. But that could be played around with. But in general, I like this direction for sure.
Sweet.
This one I don't like as much. The last one reminds me of a cigar cutter, which I obviously love, but not for native.
Yeah.
The first one you brought up, who was it? Moonwall.
Yeah. Basically, Moonwall's logo.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I immediately thought Oregon.
Oh yeah.
It's like literally Oregon.
It's like more stretched, but it's like a stencil version of the Oregon State.
Well, the old, is it Oregon? Maybe it is Oregon State. No, there was an Oregon logo that was split. Am I going crazy here?
I mean,
did they redo their logo?
I remember their logo being the same for like 30 years. If they redid it, it's a huge.
Maybe I'm going crazy. But there's like a sports logo that looks like it. Maybe it's not Oregon.
Oakley?
No, I don't think so.
It's a team, huh? I can't think of it.
Yeah, it'll come to me and I'll send it and it'll make sense. Maybe somebody watching knows what I'm talking about, but it's evocative of Oregon to me. Anyway. The middle one looks like a hamburger.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, maybe it's just, I'm just hungry and fat. But it reminds me.
I'm very hungry.
I do get what you're saying with the it looks like this plane between two worlds, and I like that conceptually. But aesthetically, I just think this set doesn't do it for me. This is cool. I like it in a vacuum. I don't think it'll work for native. It's too... What's the word I'm looking for? Word.
Like bubbly almost.
Yeah.
Like kind of graffiti letterish.
Yeah. It's like
cartoony. I think I know what you mean. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't mean this as an insult in any way. I think it's a good mark, but it reminds me of like a skate brand. Versus, digital analog worlds meeting.
Yeah, fair enough.
I really like this lockup.
Yeah, these lockups really start doing something.
Yep, they look really good.
And then we pictured doing something as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I like this. Did you pick the the third version of the ring logo.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I am torn between. I like the third and the second probably. On the first signpost slide.
And I guess if you were to pick one element of the second one, the one in the middle, between the two, second and third on that slide.
So this slide.
Yep. What about the center one? Do you like or not like versus the one on the right hand side? Because at this point we're starting to get into some fine details, and if I'm going to go and make 6-8 versions of just these each next week, I need to know the minute differences that you're liking and not.
Well, the hard thing here, and this is painful to hear, I'm sure, from your perspective, is that the thing that I like the most is also the thing that I may not end up liking. And that is the characteristic, like the indention here, the thing that makes the arch, the thing that makes the N, etc. It may be better to go simple.
Right.
And so the character, just like us as people, it's both a blessing and a curse. These little details here. It really is just this one little kind of indentation. I mean, that's essentially the primary difference between the two. But
that's where a lot of the play is going to happen. And then another question on these two: if these were butted up against each other, left and right hand sides, no break in the middle, but duotoned, does it still work for you? Maybe I'll just leave that till next week. We can see it in practice.
I can give you a definite answer on the right.
Okay.
The answer on the right is no.
It's no. Okay.
It would look like a squashed letter O.
Yep.
I think the answer to both is no.
Is no.
Yeah, I think keeping it separate is probably best.
Yep. Because I did try that when I was sketching around.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't play as nicely. Like you can give more or less space in the middle, but
right. Yeah.
Squishing them together doesn't work.
Yeah, well, if you tried it already, and I obviously trust your judgment. Like you didn't include it here. Like if it doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for me, most likely. So, I mean, even on these, these two, you kept it kind of separate.
Yeah.
Okay. Meridians.
Yeah.
So these could be really interesting. Less so this one, the far right.
Yeah.
More so the first two. Again, I see like a lot of applications with color and motion here. I like the generative piece. My not issue, but just thinking out loud is it's almost Lord of the Ring Celtic-ish.
Could be a little bit, yeah. If you don't see that it's like, does it need the duotone?
Right.
It does, probably.
It might. But that's also not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like, it doesn't scream,
Celtic cross, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm internally torn between the two versions, because 99 times out of 100, I would prefer the more symmetrical version.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that's the case here for me. I don't know, but Yeah, I think between the two, I'd probably prefer the left.
Yeah.
I think.
And that's where my head is at too, because when you see it in a lockup, you want a clean edge on the left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I turn it so that the spindles or like the interlocking part is up, it starts to look like a ring a little bit.
Yeah.
With like settings in it. And then if I spin it the other way, it sort of looks like something that's like a planet that's like launching.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that, like basically if you have this thing intertwining and rotating around in animation, you know, and maybe it's in red and blue or it's in, you know, green and some other color, I think that it would make sense. And I agree with you. I think the asymmetrical one is more visually interesting. The one in the center, I don't know. There's something about it that feels almost more like it could be nice for like a passport stamp application or something like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, if you send voice through, you know, this thing at some point and we wire it up to be generative in that respect, then it can just modulate however it wants to, you know, do its thing. But yeah, I agree. The one on the right feels good after looking at it again. Or the one on the left, sorry.
Yeah, the asymmetrical.
Yeah.
I don't like the last one at all. It's too evocative of body parts. I don't know which, but it's evocative of body parts to me.
Yeah. I could see like two top view heads coming together or something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. This one, I want to see it in context. I'm not immediately in love with this as much as I think you are.
Okay. And is it what it is about from last week to this week?
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think number one, I'm not in love with the aspect ratio of being like essentially 16 by 9 as a logo versus square.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't pass the kid test. I think it's still a little. I think you. First of all, I will say I think you did a really good job coming from this piece and kind of trying to simplify it, but maintaining its integrity. I think you did a good job. I just don't know if it works.
Yeah.
I like that we kept the N. It's my favorite conceptually. Like two worlds colliding together, coming together, joined, etc. Like 100%. It remains my favorite conceptually. I'm wondering if there's a way to like do it in a single circle somehow. I have no idea what that would look like or how that could work or if it's even possible. It's probably not, but like I don't know.
I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'll be thinking about it and in the shower. I mean,
I will also say my wife picked up on something that I didn't mention. She says it's evocative of like MasterCard to her.
Which has like the lines that unite it together between the orange and the red.
And it's two circle. Yeah, exactly.
Red and yellow.
It's hard because I like the concept so much. These also, I will say, both sets of these, they don't carry the same timelessness ability that this first item has, or the Halo has, or Ringworld has, and I think that's part of what I'm missing as well. I say that after just comparing it to MasterCard, which, I understand the irony there. But that's what comes up for me, for both of these. It does look good in lockup. I agree with you, by the way, that this isn't quite there. I think you lose too much fidelity.
It looks crumpled almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you smushed it. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It does kind of have this like 3D effect to it, where it's almost like this piece is curving in behind this. It's like a 3D N, almost like a rounded version of the N64 logo.
The cool ass.
Yeah, it's almost there, but yeah, I don't know.
I think getting rid of the crosshairs and the meridians would probably snap that right into place.
Maybe, yeah.
Could be. Who knows?
I do. I like I like it conceptually. I like its meaning. I like it, especially duotoned. It's hard for me to get there aesthetically.
I mean, that's all right. I mean, I'm going to take a shot at trying to see if I can. Yeah, the other ones are quite easy to move forward with and iterate on, right? And this one, the concept is there, right? And we want two worlds coming together. It's just, I'm probably going to have to walk this one back and start at the drawing board again and see what I can do with two circles coming together. Because just simplifying the amount of meridian lines, and doing a negative wasn't enough. So, yeah, that'll.
Yeah, I'm happy. By the way, like if you want to handle stuff asynchronously too, like I don't want you wasting time on something that is definitively not going to work. Like if you just want to send something directional in Slack, that's fine.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try a couple different takes at it in the next 2 days, and if I can't get there by like Wednesday night, then we'll retire this one unless you change your heart on it,
Okay. Yeah, I'll commit to you to like look at it in context over the next couple of days as well. We can either retire or continue.
Yeah.
And I do think that we still get like the two worlds coming together from the Halo versions, and the woven version.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not as prominent or obvious there, but I think it's still present. It is something that we don't have with Ring World, Dot World, Circle World. But I like the evolution of Signpost moving away from Signpost proper and into more like two worlds colliding, or I like that a lot. So
yeah, I think there's a couple more ways through two worlds colliding that will happen upon me hopefully this week. What's chat saying, by the way? I haven't added up.
Not a lot of comments. We've got a couple GMs. We've got one that said it looks like an alien head on the side. I don't know which one. But yeah, this one. 100% Austin. Okay. Yeah.
Where did they meet the alien? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, legit. Yeah, if anybody in the stream has ideas, thoughts, now's your time.
Yeah, or any alien experiences that they want to share with the chat.
Alien experience is more than welcome.
So if I can get you and you're going to think on this for a few days, but I want to first take, if you're going to pick 3 of these out of the, let's call it 27 logo, which are you choosing to move forward to iterate on?
Out of these,
I guess it's 26, but
I'd probably say this one. This one. This one.
this is good. This is one from each.
Yep. And then I would say, let me give these.
More of a ranking.
Yeah. So those are, kind of the top 3. I would say there's like another tier 2 that with iteration could leapfrog. I would say that one, this one, and this one.
All right.
That's what I would say. And that, obviously all of these comments are like logo mark in a vacuum, occasionally thinking about it in a lockup situation.
Yep.
From a identity system perspective, we probably have more. Let me use a different stamp here. Like, I think that one gives us some surface area to play with from a system perspective.
Yep.
These 2 give some surface area. And like these 2.
Yeah. Totally.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like how they extend with color and motion and to dots and passports and homes and stamps and all the rest. Like,
yeah, it's the visual palette that's going to get stretched across a bunch of different products, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like it's all got to look like a family, and those are the ones that have the most like family potential.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. No, this is great. And I guess for feedback next time, I guess feedback on these, hopefully by Wednesday would be good.
Yeah, I'll do another short. Yeah, I'll do another short video on Wednesday. See it in context, give it some thoughts, and we can go from there. And then if you have any async stuff via Slack, feel free to.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm taking that trip with my father to Louisville next Monday. So
oh, nice. Yeah.
We'll actually be going on Friday through Tuesday. But
okay. Yeah, if we need to push next week to whenever, that's fine by me.
I'm trying to load up my plate to get like way more than humanly possible done before I go, so I don't have to think about much when I'm down there. But we all know how that goes.
Yeah.
So we're trying our hardest here.
Yep, I do know how it goes. So,
and then fonts too. I guess taking a crack still at fonts when you have a minute, because like I'm right now leaning towards Aonic. I did play with at least the first version of what was it called?
Exot?
Exot, yeah. But I need to play with it a little bit more, and I need to see if I can find like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take a look at the current font too. Like, I can send you a link. It's called Satoshi, and it's a full family as well that I'm using.
Yeah, I mean, we could end up just using the current font too, at least for logo font. You know, like we can pick a different one for display and paragraph, of course, but like,
yeah,
if it's not broke, don't fix it. And we're not really changing much about the character of the font from Satoshi right now, really.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not like super attached. I'm also not super like let's let it go. I will say everything here, even the things I do not like at all, maybe absent the alien head. I don't like the alien head. But everything is better than what Native currently has from a mark perspective. So.
Well, this is the music to my ears, man.
Yes.
That's what I do. I just like to be I'm just a translator from you to like whatever comes out of the font. I'm an open vessel, as much as I can be.
A service animal.
Service animal.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even look through the sketchbook.
Hired mercenary, not a service animal.
Service animal. These are interesting.
Which ones?
I'll star the sketchbook stuff.
Oh, see?
That's interesting. That world, you kind of get a little bit of Meridian conceptually with.
Dude, and this is only about a third of the sketches, so like I just tried to bridge. I could open you up to the whole thing.
I mean, if
it gets a bit crazy.
Yeah, if you throw it in here, I can, star if there's like a direction that like maybe is interesting. Yeah, I don't see anything already, other than those three that where'd it go?
I have a good filter on what I've been producing.
Yeah, you've got a good filter.
I mean, a lot of these went in some shape or form. And a lot of them were, pretty close to each other. But
yep,
these are the ones that made it from like initial sketching into like, all right, let's do some finishing, and then let's prep them for Figma. Something about the top dot one, like I know you're going to get away from pixel stuff, but like I don't know, maybe I'll revisit that one. The middle row, top.
This one,
like sort of like a pixel, yeah. There's something there, but I just couldn't get it quick enough from my head down, and I just got bored with it, so I just dropped it. And then same thing, top row on the right-hand side. Like I don't necessarily like the forms inside, but I think there's something to be said about this sort of like rounded rectangle as a frame, which is kind of a neat thing. It just reminds me of like CRT monitors, and I don't know, maybe there was something about the forms in the center, but
yeah,
rounded rectangle I wanted to play with to make it look like an old oscillator sort of thing, but it didn't really have legs at the end of it.
Yeah, I don't like the forms in the center. It also evokes like Honda or Hyundai to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just the forms in the center making an H, but I'm still thinking about the pixel stuff. Like it's hard for me to look past the pixels becoming like a D, like.
Yeah.
But if it were something else, or like if it were clipped to a circle, would the effect still be there? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe there is something there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of the concepts we were playing with some of like the Venn diagram stuff is like imagine like the logical gate of XOR, right? So the exclusive OR and how that relates to two kind of different worlds. You're kind of really highlighting their exclusivity of them. Like agents and humans are exclusively different. And so that was kind of like the direction we were leaning in.
Yeah.
And how they're like, they can be complementary instead of like blended together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, it kind of gets kind of away from us at that point, and then it's like boom, well logo type stuff. But
the thing is like the Venn diagram is just like it's such a burned in symbol to everyone's brain. It's like really hard to do a new fun cool tweak on the Venn diagram because it's a fucking Venn diagram.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough one, but people do now and again.
Yeah.
So interesting. I like this one.
Nice.
Just the empty square.
Yeah. Emptiness.
Yeah. There's this like running fuel brand called Blank, or Blanks, and their logo is literally just like an underscore. It's quite honest.
Oh, that's cool. Do you remember? This was a few years ago. There was a consumer goods brand called Brandless. They might still be around.
I think so.
Yeah, they're still around. But like their brand was Brandless. Very, very meta.
Yeah. You can insert your own brand.
I mean, it's definitely a brand.
Yeah.
Like when you see this, you're immediately going to know that it's a brandless thing. They trademarked it, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Consumer is a weird space, man. Like consumer goods.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's not tech, so like your online presence is just entirely brand. You know what I mean? Because you can't try gummies or mushrooms or toilet paper over the internet.
Even if you're offering trials, you still have to get them to put in their information for trial.
Right?
Yeah.
Just gotta pay influencers to pump your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay for amps.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
paying for amps, yeah.
I think that's it from my side. I'm happy to like if there's other stuff, other sketches you want to throw in, I'm happy to do that while we're here. But we could also call it.
Yeah, I think this is good for now. I think I've got enough to chew on, and then like just thoughts around colors. You're still feeling like possible red blue, because I'm gonna start bringing those back next week, and then I also I've been meaning to do this, but I'm gonna go do it this week. Is go take us a couple swatch palettes of Mr. Rogers' sweaters.
Yeah, that's
and
cool.
just see how those play. But I think red and blue feels right. We'll see how it intersects with the current branding next week. So
yeah, let's do it.
All right, man.
All right.
Right on.
Thank you, gents.
Thank you as always.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Man.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Later.
Cheers.